Good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. This is where you will meet some of the most talented, intelligent, and creative people who come to share tips, resources, and knowledge on various topics. My guests come from many industries that include education, music, television, theater, fashion, culinary arts, hospitality, health and wellness, mental health, community advocates, and so much more. Join my guest, RyanNicole Austin, as she talks about being a mom and her illustrious career as an artist, actress, athlete, and activist. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey Kelly, how you doing?
Good, good,
Good,
good.
good.
And let me share that with your baby. Lift
Oh,
her
say
up.
hi, Anais.
Hi, sweet cakes.
Cause
Hi,
she's like
sweet cakes.
focused on me. You see?
And
Look
she
at this.
just got here. This is a brand new baby.
Yeah,
So she's
yeah.
our special guest for Mother's Day, you
Say
know.
hi.
So when we get into our conversation a little bit deeper, Ryan's going to give us her views on motherhood.
Yes, yes.
So let me read a little bit about your background.
Okay.
Ryan is a Grammy nominated quadruple treat. I didn't say threat, I said treat. Ryan utilizes every gift available to her for the liberation of all people, affectionately titled the 4A. RyanNicole seeks opportunities to empower and inspire by her pursuits as an award-winning artist, actress, athlete, and activist. We're going to get into that really in depth as we get into this interview, and you're going to be amazed at the talent this young lady has. I am so excited about having her. So, Ryan, now I would like to walk down memory lane with you before we
Okay.
start talking about motherhood and your career.
Okay.
I met you when you were at Youth Movement Records
That's
in
right.
Oakland.
That's
I
right.
got a call from Suzanne Koga, who at the time was a board of governor with the Grammys. And Suzanne actually represents Roberta Flack, right?
Yeah, yeah. An NDIRE at the time, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, she called me and was like, Kelly, can you do an image makeover on one of our artists, D'Angelo Lemons, because
Mm-hmm.
he won the Grammy Artist Development Award? And so you and I worked together on that. And
That's
of
right.
course, it was a success. It got in the Chronicle newspaper. Brian, one of the things that stood out for me was working with you. It
Oh,
was such a delight. I just kept watching you, not only how you work with me, but when I would come over to Youth Movement, how you worked with because you were like running the program, the
yeah,
way
yeah.
you work with your staff. I was like, who is this little dynamo so
Oh.
young? Because you look like a teenager.
Yeah, I was pretty
I
young in the
was
program.
like, I have to keep in touch with this young girl. And we
Oh,
did. And I'm
yes.
just, like I said, I have watched your career just go. I've seen your TED Talks. I'm just like, I want to interview her. And so I wasn't sure if you were going to say yes when I reached out to you.
Oh, of
So
course.
today, you just don't know how important this is to me because I
Oh,
want people to know who you are, what you're doing, because you're going to blow up
thank you,
because you
Kelly.
already have.
Thank you, Kelly.
And no, it's no thanking me, girl. I should be thanking you.
Oh, please.
You're gonna make my podcast flourish.
Well,
So I'm
let
excited.
from your mouth to God's ears,
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah.
absolutely. So now, Ryan, give us a little bit about your background. Where were you born and raised, and what schools did you attend?
I was born in East Oakland, California, and I attended all public schools. I'm really proud about that fact. I went to Carl B. Monk Elementary, which is actually slated to be closed this year. One
Oh,
of the many schools on the OUSD list that is slated to be closed this year. So that was my elementary school. Really proud of that being one of my alma maters. And then I went to Montera Middle School, and
okay.
then I graduated from Skyline High School.
Okay.
I'm a proud product of Oakland Unified School District.
Oh yeah, no, you are definitely a proud Oaklandite,
Yes, I
if
am.
I can call you that.
Yes.
So now, not only are you that Grammy nominated quadruple treat that we talked about, you are also a wife, a
Mhm.
mother, you have a son, and recently your daughter. So tell me, how vital is motherhood to you?
I didn't think in the early days that motherhood was even in the cards for me. And not for any medical issues. I just thought I wasn't really that interested, to be frank with you. Like, I am a big sister, and I have three younger siblings, and I was pretty much done with like
Okay.
that level of,
Get out of
that
my face.
yeah, that level of stewardship. And I have great siblings, but I was like, okay, I did that, and that was cool. And if I move on this earth kind of on my own, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
But that's not what God had for me. And so what I realize now in my later years is that motherhood really makes me, it's made me, it's a new incarnation of my identity. um these kids give me so much to live for. I've
Mm,
always been a purpose driven person. I always have been about mentorship, and big sisterhood in a lot of ways, and in
mhm.
different vocations in my life. But this takes it to another level.
Aw.
This is a responsibility like no other.
And then I've seen you with your son. How old is Chu right now?
Yeah, Onyx Chu, I love it. Is 8 years old.
Oh,
Chu is
see? Oh
his
my
nickname.
God.
Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
can't
So that's why
remember.
I only know him by Chu. So I don't know
Yeah,
Onyx.
I name him on social media as Chu, because he was my little engine that could. He was in the NICU when he was born,
Aw.
and the neonatal ICU unit, and they were saying, we're not sure he's able to thrive. And as soon as they said that about him, he just turned a corner and was truly our little engine that could.
Because they're like, look, you don't know who my mama is, do you?
Right, right. You don't know what I'm here for. I gotta inspire this lady.
Okay.
And then this is my little one. Oh, hey, baby, who is
Yeah.
who
And
is
she's like, what, 4 months now,
she is
right?
4 months.
Oh, look at that. So sweet. And they smell so good right now. Look at you.
Right. Let's hope. Yeah, let's hope you smell good, huh?
Oh, no,
This is
she
my little
smells good.
firebrand. This is Anais,
Mhm.
who's got
That is
milk
so beautiful.
milk in her
Now,
ear.
so what has been the most challenging period of motherhood for you, and how do you deal with it?
Actually having my kids was pretty challenging. I had a beautiful pregnancy with my son. It was completely seamless.
Okay.
And then when I delivered him, he, like I said, they called it failure to thrive. He was born at term, but he was a lot smaller than they expected. They thought he was going to be about 7 pounds. He came
Okay.
out at about 4 pounds, four
Okay.
pounds, 11 ounces.
Okay.
Um, and we had to spend some days in the hospital, just monitoring him and determining whether or not he was going to be okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, long story short, I mean, you see he's 8 years old now. He's
Oh, right. And
thriving. He's
beautiful. Absolutely cute as he can be.
Thank you, total boy,
Uh-huh.
completely active, jumps all over my couches. but in those first few days of life, we weren't sure what the outcome would be. But um that was a challenge. And then similarly with our daughter, we have had a journey. I,
Okay.
I won't
Okay.
call it a challenges, but certainly a journey. But
Okay.
what we've learned, with our kids, and what I've learned with my children, is that basically, I mean, God doesn't give you anything you can't handle, number one.
Right. Yes,
um
absolutely.
and number two, that every child's journey has a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know
Absolutely. They're here for a reason.
Exactly. Even if they're
Hmm.
only here for a season, they
Yeah.
are here for a purpose. And so,
Yeah.
it has been a challenge, actually, dealing with the medical situations and the
Okay.
medical system, because, as you may know, and popular that Serena Williams made it popular, that Black women aren't really listened to in
Right.
right in the medical system.
Well,
And
Ryan, my daughter became a doula because of that.
there it is.
She's a
There it is.
doula in Chicago, so she can be an advocate for Black women.
It's
So,
necessary.
because she had that, she went through the same issue. And so she was like, I don't want anybody else to have to go through this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what she ended up doing.
We need to be there to steward
Yeah.
life for one
Yeah.
another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So now, when you look back, what are some of the things that your mom has passed down to you that you'll use raising your children?
Oh, my mom taught me the value of integrity.
Mm,
Truth telling is critical. It is how we we operate in the house. My mom always used to say she didn't trust a thief or a liar.
Okay, that sounds like my mother.
You
If
know,
you lie, you steal.
exactly. I'm like, okay. And it didn't matter how small, how minor the lie. If you lie, you'll steal, and I can't trust you, and you can't be in my house. And ultimately what that translated to me was, as you must tell the truth in all things, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient for you or it's inconvenient for other people. It's necessary to tell it. And as I've grown, I've learned how to deal with the truth in ways that I hope are gentle, when needed to be,
Yeah.
and are biting when needed to be. Sometimes you just can't deliver the truth nicely. But I know that that truth is a very high value, and
Okay.
it is one that I hold and I ascribe to all the time.
Okay.
And I think it really is the underpinning of my career as a speaker, as a person who uses her voice and writes things. My main goal is to be authentic and to tell the truth as I know
Okay.
it.
That's beautiful. And what about your grandma? Is your grandma with you?
My father's mom is still with us.
Okay.
And actually, I had the blessing of having 4 grandmas. So
Okay. Oh,
I have
beautiful.
my dad's mom, and I have my mom's mother, her actual biological mother, then my mom's stepmom, who is also still with us.
Okay.
And then I have my great grandmother, who we call Big Mama, and
Okay.
she is not with us, but they've all been present with me at different stages in my life. So right
Beautiful.
now is the stage of my life where I'm spending the most time with my father's mom.
Okay.
And yeah, her wisdom, so Anaisa's name is translated to grace. And
Okay.
my grandmother, my father's mother, is grace personified. And
Okay.
she is the most graceful. Her name is Gloria. She's the most graceful, glorious woman you would
Oh,
ever meet. She doesn't suffer any fools, but it's interesting. She knows how, again, to like tell the truth, get her point across without being harsh, without being heavy. She gets the point, and you get it, and move by the way that you're supposed to move. But she has a sweetness, a sweet countenance about her,
yeah.
that I still haven't learned how to get.
Yeah, well, you know what? In time, as you age, it
Yes,
comes.
yes.
Because I'm a grandmother now, so I know the sweetness that I have, what compared to when I was a mother.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So my daughter's just like, I didn't get treated like you
Right.
treated
Who are
her.
you? I'm noticing that with my mom. I'm like, who are
Uh-huh.
you? That's
Right.
not, they don't get candy. No,
Well,
no.
you know what? The thing about what I'm finding being a grandmother is that it having being a grandma gives you a chance to do it right, so to speak.
Mm.
Because you've learned what you didn't do with your daughter. So you're going to make sure that you do it with your grandchild.
I
So
get
I know
that.
I have these conversations with my granddaughter that sometimes she's like, I said, no, you're going to hear it.
Yes, that's right.
You're
That's
going to hear
right.
it. And because I said, you don't know. You,
Right. You
girl,
think you know.
right. She know everything.
Uh-huh.
So I have to put her in
Uh-huh.
check and go, so it's just really interesting that you still have your grandma and that
Yeah.
you're learning from her,
Yeah.
because believe it or not, their cells are in our body.
I believe that.
They
I truly believe
we
that.
carry them with us, and
Absolutely.
it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. And now you have the son, and now you have the daughter,
Yeah.
because daughters are so different from
They really
sons.
are.
Oh
They
yeah.
really
Oh
are.
yeah.
The minute she came out of my body and I got to put eyes on her, I said, oh, I get it, God. It's interesting. You say that having grandchildren is your way of doing it right this time. And
Yes.
similarly, having a daughter is my way of, I felt like God was like, this is your time to do it right.
Okay.
This is how you should have loved you.
Okay. 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 That's
I
a
give you
good
a
point.
daughter. Yeah, I give you a
I
daughter so you
like
can
that.
know how to love yourself, or you should have loved yourself this way.
And you know what? And they do teach you that, because
Yeah.
I know, that happened with me and my daughter. My daughter and I are extremely close, even
Mm-hmm.
though I know I get on her nerves sometimes, but
It's
that's
okay.
okay.
That's all right.
Exactly. Exactly. But having that close bond is really, really important.
It's
So now
necessary.
tell me this, what family member memory will you cherish forever?
Ooh, good
I know there's so
question.
many, but
There are many. Gosh, what family memory will I cherish forever? probably one that incorporated my entire family, my chosen family and my blood family. And I think I would choose my wedding day.
Oh,
You
because
know,
everybody was there. Huh?
everybody was there. You know, the person who was getting ready to become my family, my husband, the
Yeah,
person who would, ultimately help me create my own family, my husband, and then the family that I acquired through him, and then the family that I've always had, right? And
yeah,
the friends that I call family, they were all
yeah.
there to witness
Oh,
that. So yeah, I would say my wedding day.
that's beautiful. That is that. You know what? You are so on point. I
Oh,
wouldn't. Yeah, that's a great memory to have and to share.
yeah,
So
they were
now,
all
Ryan, we're going to leave motherhood, so to speak,
there.
because you still
Okay.
got that baby. So we're not
Yep.
really leaving
No, we're
it. So
never.
if she cries, that's fine. You know,
Okay.
I used to love to hear little babies cry. Most people think I'm
Oh.
nuts, but I love hearing them cry because
You might get a little bit. She
that's okay.
yells at me first.
Mhm. So now let's talk about the 4A illustrious career of yours.
Okay.
So we'll start with the artist. You are a Grammy nominated alphabet rocker, MC, and poet that has played on international stages and web platforms. You are a TEDx fellow. You have performed with various artists and persons of influence, most notably my favorite person, President Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Wow. Now, I remember when Caitlin McCaw and Tommy Shepard first started Alphabet Rockers, because at that time I was a board of governors with the Grammys
Yeah, yeah.
when she was there.
That's right.
So, what was it like working with the Alphabet Rockers? And please elaborate a little bit on that TEDx fellow and the
Sure.
performances where my favorite president was present. So, you got a little while to speak.
Yeah, so I'll say this much. First of all, working with Caitlin, I've known Caitlin since she was at the Grammys as well. And we just hit it off, and similarly to how we hit it off.
Okay.
Just I saw her and I was like, wow, she's with it. She's got a real strong business mind, and we just always stayed connected through the turns of her career. She hit me up after they had already been nominated for a Grammy the first time. And so it was an
Okay.
honor to like join the project after they had already had like so much success, and that she thought that I was deserving of that partnership, that collaboration.
Yes.
She asked me to come on board and write this song. We were at Zoo Labs actually, which is a studio here in West Oakland that was set aside for independent artists. And we ran into each other in the hall, and she's like, oh my God, I'm working on this song with the kids. It's called Black Girl Magic. Would you be able to work with? I was like,
Oh,
absolutely.
that was so
Absolutely.
you, Black
Yeah.
Girl Magic. Yes,
I'm like,
absolutely.
absolutely. So I think the next week I had some work in the studio to do anyhow. And so I ended up doing a session with them. It was so non-pretentious. Like, for people who already have their stars on a rise,
Mhm.
these folks were just like, come through, hang out. I know Tommy from my theater days. He was the first person. He was in one of the first productions that I had here in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Hamlet, Blood in the Brain. We played siblings. So I knew Tommy and I knew
Okay.
Caitlin. And so that friendship was already there, and writing with
Beautiful.
them was super easy. And I had no idea where it would go. I knew that we had a ball. Writing with the girls was fun. Both Lily and Maya were, I think, maybe 8 years old at the time. Just super young and sweet and impressionable, and very, very vocal about what they wanted to represent in terms of Black Girl Magic and why
Wow.
that song was important for them. So
Wow.
I knew I had a responsibility, like,
Okay.
to
That's
bring,
awesome.
yeah, just like the artistic fire, but also bring the content. And I knew that they were ready for the content. So that was a great experience. It was a wonderful way for me to witness that, again, young people don't have any limitation on what they understand.
Yeah.
We try
Yeah.
to infantilize kids, and kids know they know what's happening.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They
Very
really,
smart.
yeah. And so these young people were like, no, we want to talk about this. We want to talk about skin color. We want to talk about
Mhm.
natural hair. We want to talk about our voices being centered. and we want you to be a part of it, and we expect you to hold us up, as you sing the song. And so, yeah, that was awesome. And then, months later, we get the call that it's nominated for the Grammy.
And you just like, I am Grammy nominated.
Yeah,
That
I'm
is
like,
awesome.
well, look at God. I said, okay, just like
Oh,
that,
well, your star is rising. It's beautiful. I mean, it was
Thank you.
bound to happen with the talent that you have. So I
Thank
hope you're not really surprised.
I am, because this is not a guaranteed pathway. It's none of
Yeah.
this is guaranteed. I know some brilliant artists
Yeah.
who just the timing wasn't right,
Yeah.
or
They don't get
people
the
weren't
shot.
ready. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so there's that. And then, okay, let's see, what was the next one?
The TEDx.
Oh, TEDx. Similarly, got a call from one of the representatives. I couldn't even tell you who it was, who asked me to. They said, TED is coming to San Francisco, and we would like for you to be our feature artist. There's another gentleman who will be there. He'll be performing music, and we would love for you to take up a slot and speak to us. Share some music that is motivating, that carries messaging in it. I think the subject matter for that day was around resilience,
Okay.
and around kind of political vision, like how do you mobilize people. And so the song that I shared was called About That Action, that I actually wrote for a school board candidate by the name of Kyrishi Wigginton. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Kyrishi ran for the school board here in District 3, because she was just a brilliant advocate for young people coming out of McClymonds High School. And she was like, listen, I need some art to mobilize the people. And so what I know Kyrishi to be is About That Action. She does not talk, she does the work.
Okay.
She would literally be sitting on the corner canvassing early in the mornings across from West Oakland Middle School every day.
Wow.
And just her, or her and another member of her team. And she built this grassroots campaign on her own. And knowing the work that she did as an advocate for young people, and she had organized, I think, 6 trips to Africa
Oh,
for young
wow.
people. Yeah,
Wow.
all on her own. She took anywhere between 10 and 20 young people to Africa at a time every year for 6
Wow.
years running.
Wow. That's beautiful.
She was just amazing. So she inspired this song About That Action, which is about, being about it, not just talking about it, being about the ideas that you have, starting without hesitation, stepping out on faith, and representation, making sure that we have the people who represent the community, the people from the community representing the community at the tables of power.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what that was about. And I got to share that number, and actually revise the song. Kev Choice did a little bit of arranging of the music for me, but revised that song and performed it at TEDx. And it was a lot of fun. And then I got to share a piece with a gentleman named Ozark Henry, who was out of Europe. He played piano, and I did a spoken word piece over his music.
Oh, nice. Did you guys have a chance to rehearse, or it just happened?
No, it just happened.
Okay.
He came. We had talked when I came in, and he was like, "You're cool, and I heard your sound check, and you want to come out with me and do something?" And I was like, sure." Like, on camera? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm gonna say your name, and you're just gonna walk out, and you're gonna do something, and then you're gonna tell me when to stop. I was like, okay. So
you know what that reminds me of? Remember Soul Food?
Yes.
When the dancer,
yes,
asked the
when
guy to play the piano, and he was like, I don't know what to do.
Right. You'll feel it. Exactly.
Right.
That's what Ozark Henry said. He was like, you'll feel it. And I did. And we had a cool performance together. I made a good friend.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Now come on, Barack Obama.
All right, Barack Obama was this is pre-president Barack Obama. He was campaigning.
It don't matter. He was president. We just didn't know it. Okay.
We did not know it. But and what's funny is I think I consider myself pretty politically engaged. I graduated with one of my degrees in political science, and I had been watching his career but I just didn't think, I guess the apathy in me, which I need to always kind of keep an eye on, wasn't sure that the country was ready for a Black president. So while I enjoyed him, while I thought he was the future, I
Yeah.
just thought he was a future that was not accessible at the time. So he was campaigning.
Okay.
He had come here to do a women, excuse me, Democrat, Women for Democracy. I guess it was Women for Democracy event. Um, and it was at the, oh God, what is that space? Bill Graham Civic in San Francisco.
Okay.
And I was asked to come and represent young people and to share a spoken word piece before the event. And so I did. And I thought it would be like before in the reception hall or something.
Mhm.
I get pulled in. I'm getting like the whole security detail. They had to check everything and make sure that I wasn't a criminal. And then I get ushered up onto the stage, and it's thousands upon thousands of people filling this arena, you know, women primarily for democracy and for Obama in particular. And I performed, and then, you know, people clapped, and then I turned around and he's like right there. And I was like, oh my God, right. I'm like, oh. So at the time I was like, oh, I got to perform for the Democratic nominee for president.
That
And
is
then
so beautiful.
as he continued to rise, I was like, oh my
Yes.
God. But I got to sit up on stage. When I look back at this picture, there's a picture of me, and one of the first Black women judges was on the stage.
Oh,
Kamala
wow.
Harris, our vice president, was on the stage. Nancy
Nice.
Pelosi was on the stage. You know, all these super just impactful, powerful women were sitting on the stage. And, you know, there I was, little old me. At the time I was running Youth Movement Records, and I had no idea what I was really there for and in for. And, you know, months later, this guy was standing on the stage accepting
The
his
president. Oh, and
president.
you're like, I was there.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I hugged that guy, and he smelled like cookies.
What a beautiful memory.
Yeah,
You know, it's so interesting is that when you follow your passion and your heart, you really don't know where it's going to lead you.
that's right. That's
You know,
right.
and then when you find yourself amongst the people that you admire, you go like, why am I here?
Right.
It's like, what? And it's like, because you're one of us.
I
And
guess, right?
no, it's no guess. I had to learn that. You know,
Mhm.
there's no accidents in terms of where we're placed.
This is true. This
Yeah.
is very
So,
true.
you know, there's going to be more.
Yeah,
So,
I believe it. No, God always said, you know, my grandmother says what God says, which is your gift will make room for you.
oh, absolutely.
And part of your gift, part of your objective with your gift is, you know, there's also the parable of the talents, and you sow your seed. You know, you don't hide your gift.
Yeah.
You give out
You have to
literally your
share it.
talent.
You
You
got
have
to
to
share it.
share your talent,
Yeah.
you
You got to
know,
share it.
or else
Really.
it'll be taken away, right?
Oh, baby. People
Yeah.
need to know that. Say it again.
The truth. You got to
Share
share
it or
talent,
lose it. Oh,
or you
yeah.
will lose your
And
talent.
that's exactly what happens. Okay, so time to find out about the A actress.
Okay.
So I'd like to share with the audience how you were sought out to co-star in the NBA on ESPN's Christmas special. And I saw that
Yeah.
with Daveed Diggs. He was an
Yeah.
original member with the Hamilton cast.
Mhm.
Now, how you lead different productions of the most reputable theater companies,
Mhm.
like Native Son, you did at the Marin Theater
Mhm.
Company,
Mhm.
and you can name a few more for me.
Okay. Well, let me pull over and give this baby bottles.
Okay. Okay.
Here goes your bottle, mama.
See,
Yeah,
guys, this is what it's like being a mom.
this
See,
is mom.
this is what moms do.
This
We
is
will
mommy.
bring our kids with us wherever they have to be, and we will do what we need to do
We
to
do
make
what we
sure they're
gotta
taken
do.
care of.
That's right.
That's why they call us mama.
That's right. Super moms.
Mhm.
So yeah. So what do we want to highlight first? We want to highlight
Well, talk about being on the Christmas special, and you know, and I love Daveed in his role in Hamilton. He was my
Yes.
favorite character.
Yes, he was Lafayette. He was
Oh,
so
when he came down on that stage and started, I was
Yeah.
like, who is this? And I
Yeah.
had no clue he was from here.
He was from here. Daveed has been a collaborator of mine for some years, long before Hamilton. Found him similarly. Like I looked at that guy and I was like, "Oh, this dude's a star. He's just
Okay,
a star."
okay,
And
like I did you.
yeah, he won't be here for long. I was like, he just won't be here for long. And sure enough, you know,
Yeah.
he went away. But he went away, but he never lost his connection to this region and never lost his connection to the people who he's been with from the very
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
And so I am fortunate to be in that number. He called me. I was actually out at my brother's wedding in Cabo, and you know, having the time of my life there, celebrating his union. And then I get a call to have just even more fun. I got a call from
Okay.
David, and I'm sitting there amongst my family, and I'm like, "Yo, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, you know, there's this cool thing with the NBA that needs to happen. We need to write something. Would you be down?" I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, you call me, I'm down for whatever." So he's like, "All right, we need to like produce it in 2 weeks. Can you do it?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll, you know, set aside some stuff, but let's make it happen." He flew into town. Him and me sat in my living room at our kitchen table, wrote out these skits, and submitted it to the NBA after a couple back and forths,
Okay. Wow.
about not dissing people too hard. Because we definitely had a penchant for the Warriors, but we were like, everybody else is horrible. Um, after they
That's the
made us
Bay
kind of
Area for you.
right, we can't
Uh-huh.
help it.
Right.
After we adjusted some of those bars, some of those rhymes, it was time to go to Vancouver and film. And so I flew up to Vancouver
Wow.
and filmed. We spent about 15 hours on set and played 6 different characters each. And yeah, we
Oh,
had
that
a
was
ball.
beautiful.
We
That's
had a great
awesome.
time. Yeah,
That
and
is so awesome.
that aired on Christmas Day, during the NBA games. So I was getting blown up, just calls from all over the place. "I think I see you on TV."
Right. People are like, I know her. I know
Yeah.
her.
"Are you
Now,
on TV?"
uh,
Yeah.
now, so tell me about the plays that you've produced, the different productions that you've done.
Well, I have been a part of, both as a producer, an actress, a writer. It just depends on what role. So Native Son, I was just a writer, or excuse me, I was just a performer in.
Okay.
That is written by Nambi E. Kelly, who is a brilliant playwright, out of New York. She created Native Son. So Richard Wright's Native Son, she made it into a stage play.
Wow.
And I played Bessie, who is probably the least remembered character, and literally the discarded character in the book and in the play.
Okay.
It's a really hard role to play, because it was very telling for me how people regard Black women.
Hmm.
Even though this is a fictional piece set in the 30s in Chicago, out of time, out of reality on some levels. What I realized in playing the role was that, like, I would come out after we would play the roles after the show, and we would do talk backs, and people would go like, "Wait, who did you play?"
Okay.
And and it was consistent, and I'd be like, I played Bessie, his girlfriend, and they're like, "He didn't have a girlfriend." I'm like, "No, that girl that he killed, like, that was
That was me.
that was me." And that was, you know, that was a Black woman, and she had a life, and she had,
Yeah.
you know, she had significance, and yet she is forgettable. It just really grounded something for me that I'm still chewing on about Black womanhood and the significance of Black women on stage.
Yeah.
um the first role that I had here in the Bay Area was for Hamlet. There was a revision, and I wrote in this, and then I ended up playing the character. But there was a revision of Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet, proposed in 1980s Oakland, so the height of the crack era, Oakland. And it centered Hamlet as the prince of a drug kingdom.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
And I played Ophelia, and we had to do some revisions in the writing to modernize the language, and that language was poetry and urban tongue and rap. And so I wrote with Naomi Azuka, who is a brilliant playwright. I think she's currently at Santa Barbara, she's at UC San Diego. She's the head of the theatrical department there.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I wrote, and then after we finished writing the piece, it was like, well, nobody else can play this role but you, so could you please play this role?
Oh,
And that was my entree into acting here in the Bay Area.
that's beautiful.
Yes, thank
Now,
you.
I know that you are an alumni at NYC's Public Theater Fellowship. in the Bars Workshop
Mm-hmm.
as a writer and performer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're also involved with ACT. Will
Mm-hmm.
you speak about that involvement? And then
Sure.
before we do that, you were also in New York earlier
Yeah.
this month.
This month. Yeah.
Right. I remember when you left because you were going away for the co-founders of musical. So first we're going to talk about the fellowship,
Bars,
and then we'll go
ACT, and then
to that because I actually want to show a clip of the rhyme combinator.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so Bars was my first introduction to the public theater. The public theater was the theater that incubated Hamilton, which basically it developed Hamilton as a show and then put it on Broadway. And the public theater is known to do that with several plays since 1974, I think was its inception. It housed Daveed Diggs and Raphael Casal's program Bars, which was verse-based theater, helping actors, traditional actors, learn how to kind of take on this new medium that was coming around that you see in Hamilton, which is verse hip-hop based theater,
Okay.
and helping, verse-based performers and writers, poets, rappers, so on and so forth, beatboxers, movers, learn how to act a bit better. So and writers, and help center writers in the middle of that. And so
That's
I was
wonderful. What a
yeah,
great opportunity.
it was great. I got to, I was wearing all those hats and I got to flex all those muscles a little bit, and was in the second cohort of that, second, third, and fourth. I wrote and performed in the second one, and then I wrote and kind of performed in the third one, and then I just did some oversight for the fourth one. And it was an awesome opportunity to go and kind of test my chops in New York and learn how people, did things, and become familiarized with the public theater that we'll revisit when we talk about what happened
Yes.
in April. Then ACT is the American Conservatory Theater here in San Francisco. I would say it's comparable with, it's like our Juilliard maybe, or
Yes.
our,
No, I'm familiar with ACT. Yes.
okay, yeah, like
Yeah.
our Berkeley, right? And so I have been involved with them in different ways for a long time. Most recently, we revised, myself and Graham Smith revised the libretto and the books and the lyrics for As You Like It.
Okay.
So As You Like It, Shakespeare's play. We took it and did the same thing that we did with Hamlet. The first time I was involved in theater, we took it and we I think extracted some of the most pertinent scenes to right now and converted those scenes into verse and modern language on some level. A lot of it we kept the same.
Okay.
And I just musicalized a lot of what was already in the book.
Wow.
And then I've actually been involved with ACT as a director and a writer. So I did the Master in Fine Arts classes, Master in Fine Arts students, what is it, the cabaret. So I wrote and directed their cabaret for their third year Masters in Fine Arts students who are graduating with their masters. And then I got an opportunity to, right before the pandemic, to be the understudy for their play. So on the professional side of the theaters, their Broadway bound play, Tony Stone. Tony Stone is the story of the first Black woman professional baseball player. The first woman professional baseball player ever happened to be a Black woman who
Wow.
ended her career here in the Bay Area.
Oh.
Yeah, her name is Tony Stone. She was brilliant and a hell of a baseball player. And her life ended here in Alameda.
How old was she when she passed?
She was older.
Okay.
I want to say she was in her 80s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So she lived a good long life.
She lived a good, long, healthy, athletic life. I got to understudy the role. And as we were ramping up the show, mounting the show, beautiful stage, beautiful set, beautiful cast, amazing direction by the artistic director of of ACT, Pam McKinnon. as we're mounting the show, COVID was also mounting, and we were kind of watching it and putting the show up. We did our previews one week, and then the next week was opening night. We opened the show to a full house, and it was amazing. And then when the show ended, we got called backstage, and we come backstage, and the director and the crew announced that we would have to close the show that night. Yeah, so
Heartbreak Hotel, right?
Heartbreak Hotel. So I got fitted for this amazing costume. I got this wig. I got all this stuff. I knew that there was going to be a couple nights where I was going to get to go on. I was excited. I learned the lines, all of that. And yeah, they said,
you know, when you just said that, I knew I was going to go online. What came to my mind was a movie All About Eve. You remember that?
Oh,
with Betty Davis.
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
If you have not seen that, watch that movie.
Okay.
Watch that movie. This lady was an understudy to her, and she ended up upstate. Girl, anyways, it's a whole nother story. But make sure you see that. It's a classic. Definitely a classic. So now let's talk about the co-founders, the musical. So should I show the video and then you talk as we? Okay, let me do that, and then that way you'll be able to.
And then I'll tell you about it.
You'll tell us about it as we go. All right. So I'm going to play it. Here goes. Well, let me make sure that I'm sharing the sound first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I notice when I teach in school, if I don't share the sound.
There it goes.
Can you hear it?
It was very low.
Wait a minute. I need to get to, okay, here. Give me a moment, listeners. Okay, here goes more. I'm trying to get to my bar. Okay, here goes. Share sound.
There we go. You got to go back home.
Okay.
There you go. Should pop up.
There it goes.
There it is.
Okay, so let me make the screen big.
It's huge on my screen. Oh, there you go.
Okay, so here it goes. Let me know if you can hear it.
Hey Siri, play something dope. We're about to see the tale of the two most unlikely co-founders in the history of Silicon Valley. Mine, when will I get to have mine?
Ready, set, go, I'm ready to let go. A decision no regret, I'm ready to bet no. I'm letting go of who you want me to be. You know who I'm gonna work for? Me.
Everybody wants to do it on their own. Welcome to Silicon Valley. This is never gonna work.
Silicon Valley to Vallejo. Started from the bottom of the Bayo. You heard of jobs, heard of wise, heard of Zuck. Those were the garages. This is the trunk.
Cool.
Wow. Okay, talk to me about that. You were doing the voiceover on that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I said that sounds like Ryan's voice.
That's me. Yeah, so the show is about the two most unlikely co-founders in the history of Silicon Valley. It is about a Black girl from West Oakland, who is the WAS of the partnership, which essentially means she is the technical coder. She is a math genius, a technical genius, but can't really sell things. She's not good at talking to people. She's really not adept at that. Kind of a recluse in her basement. And then there is a white guy from the East Coast who can sell, you know, a ketchup popsicle to a lady in white gloves, but he can't code a thing. He's incapable, and so he could be you know, a salesman to the gods, who's, you know, I guess akin to Steve Jobs, but not able to code anything. And so they need each other to make it in what is called the accelerator, which is like there are several in Silicon Valley. There are several accelerators, startup accelerators, business accelerators that take a business idea and fast track it to market. But it is a gauntlet. It is a hardcore gauntlet, and either you make it or you don't. And most people don't make it. And normally 1% survive and do well. And those do wells are Twitter and Coinbase and, you know, Uber and so on and so forth. And so this story is about how they enter into this gauntlet of sorts and try to survive. But it's also really the story of access and equity for a Black girl who should be able to do it on her own, but has never felt confident. The story of entitlement and access for a white guy who comes here without any technical skill, but has the audacity to believe that he should.
Okay.
He should
Can open up any door.
Yeah. And he does, right?
And walk straight through it.
And walk straight through it.
And
The story of gentrification and tech's impact, what the, not just gentrification, but what the impact of innovation has on any place in any region. So, you know, Silicon Valley is wonderful, and the innovations that come from that place have changed the world. You know, we're sitting here talking on Zoom. Amazing.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Some invention of Silicon Valley. And, you know, it has really market impacts on regions like Oakland that has housed, you know, social justice movements and people and culture for decades before this advent of technology. And now those folks are getting pushed out and spread across the nation. And so what does that mean for such a rich place like Oakland, like the Bay Area? And so, yeah, so it's a funny story that explores some of those really heavier topics.
So one of the things that I noticed after it ends, it actually asks you to join the mailing list. So let's give them the website.
It's
URL.
Rhyme Combinator. So RHYME Combinator, COMBINATOR.com. And you can join our website there. You could join our mailing list there on our website.
Okay, perfect. Okay, hold tight, audience. There's, you know, this is one of those interviews that I couldn't do in 30 minutes because she's a dynamo and she's got 4 A's and we're on the third one right now.
Almost there.
So hold tight. We have 2 more to go after this one. 1 more to go after this. So this A is going to be on the athlete. So you are a California state champion record holder from high school in track and field. Tell me more about this and how it led to a full ride scholarship to college. You also are a personal trainer, correct?
Used to be. I'm done with
okay.
Days.
And starting an innovative media platform called Fit Trip.
Yes.
And so then you're going to tell me what Fit Trip involves. So first, let's talk about your college record, high school record, because I understand that you are kind of like a celebrity in Oakland for this track record because no one's beat it or something, right?
No one's beat it. It still
Okay.
stands. It still stands. And it still stands. It's still up there. I started running track in my junior year in high school. I had a brilliant coach by the name of Curtis Taylor, who is currently at University of Oregon. And if you followed University of Oregon for the last 6 years, and all the wins that they've had, that is because of Curtis Taylor. He has been
wow.
Curtis.
What a tribute.
He's amazing. Curtis is amazing. He takes nobodies essentially, and not to say the girls at University of Oregon have already secured their stardom. So he's taken those people and taken them to the next level. But he used to take little kids like me who, had some athletic ability, but not, state leading athletic ability, and shape us and chisel us and send us on our way. And he is probably responsible for, I would say he's responsible for most of the track scholarships out of this region between 1991 to 2000, maybe
Wow.
2004.
What a
Yeah.
tribute.
Guy is brilliant. Okay. And so humble and modest, and you would never know, but brilliant.
Oh, a real treasure.
Yeah. He took me on. He was actually the coach at O'Dowd High School, Bishop O'Dowd, and we didn't have a coach at Skyline at the time. We were in between coaches. And I basically went and begged him. I was like, listen, I need to go to school. I had
Okay.
learned from my parents probably weeks prior that they didn't have a college fund for me. And I was
Okay.
16. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, yeah, I don't know. You're going to figure that out. And my parents
You're
are
first generation college?
I'm first generation college
Okay.
student.
Okay. That's why the same in
Yeah,
my family. Mhm.
their vision was you'll go to junior college and then you'll level up from there, and that's just fine. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But I saw what was happening with the students who would go to Laney or Merritt. They would essentially stalemate, or at least the ones that were like me, who were not extremely self-motivated. And I knew I wasn't extremely self-motivated. I needed some kind of impetus. And I needed another reason to be like in school. I love school. I'm an academic, but I was not sure about what I wanted to do.
Uh-oh.
And I knew I would just kind of shrivel up on the vine. So I started running track. I was like, I think I need to pick some kind of sport that I can survive in. I had previously played softball, but I was really too small at the time
okay.
to make any real impact. And I kept getting, they used to walk me because I was fast enough to run the bases, but they would never let me hit. And that sucked. So, and I couldn't hit anyway, so it didn't matter. So, anyhow, I ran track. I chose to run track. I called Curtis. I asked him to train with him. I did. He finally, eventually decided within a semester that he would come over and coach Skyline while he was concurrently coaching O'Dowd.
Wow.
And he took myself and a guy named Andre Ammons, and he molded us into state champions that year. And then the next year he took another crop of kids and he molded them into state champions, and so on and so forth. And so and that garnered me a scholarship. I mean, the minute that I crossed the tape, there were college recruiters at my door.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Hadn't previously talked to me. I think I had a one letter from Brown University at one point, and they weren't really offering any scholarships. And then literally that I got home that weekend. I ran on Saturday. I got home on Sunday. Monday, my parents' answer machine was full.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. So I'm sure your parents were like, okay.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, you're really going to college. Yeah, you're going. Okay. But it was an eye-opening experience for all of us because
absolutely.
What I learned is if truly, like, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. But not just that, you have to have a team. Yeah. You have to have folks that are behind you who have some expertise, who can help steward you to that next place. Yeah. And I just so happened to luck up on Curtis Taylor, who could do that.
That's wonderful. So tell me about Fit Trip. What is that?
Fit Trip. So I maintained my athletic kind of career post college as a track athlete, but also as a trainer. And as I was training, I was also traveling, and my clients were also traveling. And I trained a lot of women at the time. And women would go and they would travel and they would lose all of their gains. They would go and they'd be gone for 2-3 weeks, and everything that we had worked on, they lost while they were gone. And it wasn't just because they weren't fit, but it was because of access. I realized it was an access issue that if they were going for work, they would say they'd be in New York for work, and they'd get into the conference at 9 a.m. and they'd get out of conference at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. and then they'd have to go do happy hour, because that's what you do, right?
Right.
And even if they were on point in terms of watching their nutrition, they would leave happy hour at 8, and then it would be dark. And if their hotel didn't have a decent fitness space, they were kind of out of luck, right? It
Yeah.
was like hard to find what was around and what they could do. Their male counterparts would go and run somewhere and go explore the city and all of that. And I realized, oh, this is an access issue. This is, if there were a fitness concierge that could give them a space within the 5-mile radius that was quality, that was safe, and that would provide, that would open the door to drop-ins,
Okay.
then my clients would likely go. And so I thought, okay, if I could create some kind of resource, some kind of platform that would highlight those spaces, would they go? And so I started that platform. It's called Fit Trip. It starts as it's a show, it's a piece of media that highlights regions. So the first episode is in Oakland, and it
Okay.
highlights a fit city, the fitness elements in the city. And so there's both paid and free elements. It's how you eat healthfully. It's how you party healthfully.
So it's a resource, basically.
It is a resource.
Okay. Okay.
And it will be an app at some point. If I could
Okay.
ever get some time to like really focus on it, then that's
Yeah.
what it intends to be.
That sounds smart, actually, because when people do travel, it happens.
Yeah, you just
It
lose
really
it.
does.
And I mean, it's easy to lose it because you're traveling and you're out of your normal routine and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So if I could make it easy, if I could say, on my phone, I could say, what's in a 5-mile radius? Okay, here's the salad spot, here's the spin studio, here
Yeah.
is Pilates class, oh, and that happens at 5. Let me drop in, boom. All right, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
so last but certainly not least is the activist.
Yes.
And so RyanNicole has served her community as an organizer and activist for 2 decades. She holds the distinction of becoming one of the youngest nonprofit executive directors in the Bay Area, where she received a 2-year fellowship in prestigious Leader Spring.
Mm-hmm.
With all that you have going on in your life, what got you involved with the community? It's like, but one of the things that I noticed is you said a lot throughout this whole interview is the word access.
Mm-hmm.
And in our community, I'm going to let you go with this.
I'm glad you said that. I'm really glad you said that. Activist underscores everything that I do. I became an artist because I'm an activist. I'm an athlete because I'm an activist. Like I wanted to make sure, even as young as 16, I wanted to make sure that if I had a chance to do anything, that I could be a good role model, that I could be an example of a Black girl from Oakland who went to public school, doing good for the city and coming back to the city. Like,
yes, absolutely.
One of the things is always like, oh, you got to get out, and you do have to get out, but you need to come back too.
Yeah.
And so I knew that was my drive. And in Oakland, I knew that I wanted, when I showed up at these track meets, I wanted them to talk about our school the way they talked about at the time the Deer Valleys and the Logan High schools and so on, and O'Dowd and all of those great institutions. But I was like, we've got some awesome stuff happening here too. So I know that my objective always has been about not just access, but representation. So it's two-sided. Access on this side, making sure that we can get to where we want to go, and representation, making sure that we can see ourselves in the places where we want to be.
Absolutely. Very key. Very key.
Right. And so that's really, I think, the underpinning of the activism that I have been a part of. I became I was the first summer cultural enrichment program. Yeah, I'm like, what does SCEP stand for? Summer Cultural Enrichment Program at East Oakland Youth Development Center is what established me as an organizer.
Okay, Barack.
I wish. under the tutelage of Regina Jackson, who just transitioned out as the president and CEO of East Oakland Youth Development Center, and handed it over to Selena Wilson, who is a young person who came up under the same model that I'm going to talk about, which is cascading mentorship. I learned from somebody who was in a professional position what skills and strategies needed to exist in order to organize and galvanize a body of people. And then I passed that down to the next group, and so on and so forth. And I ran a program of 200 young people, employed 21 young people, and we did everything, you know, from, of course, your standard kind of summer program activities of like field trips and so on and so forth, but also enrichment and education.
Mhm.
And we established a model that ended up becoming replicated around the globe. Um, that was what I learned in that program by watching how kids would light up, how my peers would light up, and then young people just under me would be excited about me being a representative of leadership, and then seeing themselves in my shoes in a couple of years, and what the way that I had to own my accountability in that role. Like, I was just like, this is the most enriching experience that a young person can have. And it doesn't matter what your walk of life, you know, what walk of life you come from. Seeing if you're a Black girl, you see Black girls doing what you want to do, or doing something that you were told is not
Sure.
possible.
Yeah.
It's just a big deal, and it can change your trajectory.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And I saw that year after year at EOYDC. I was a product of it, and then created products of it. And I took that kind of charge on in my career, and on in everything else that I've done. And so even now, I'm not a Black girl, I'm a Black woman.
Right.
You
Well, you
know?
know what you're saying is what I believe in, and my grandmother had taught me: pass the baton.
Pass the baton.
You know,
Each
when I
one
think
reach one.
about Dianne Feinstein, and even Nancy Pelosi for that matter, I really believe they should have been grooming somebody and bringing them along. It's time. It's like, you know,
Yes.
people get in
Yes.
that spotlight and they don't want to give it up. It's like,
Right.
bring somebody else. Anyways, that's a whole nother story.
You're so right, though. It's so
But it
critical.
breaks my heart, because
Yeah.
it's like, this is what it's all about. You know, you do your thing, bow out gracefully, and then
Mhm.
bring somebody else along. You know, and that makes you last longer.
It does. It prolongs your
Okay.
legacy. I know.
Okay. It
You're
just,
so right. You're
uh,
so right.
girl, it's not rocket science.
It's not, but it is a problem of ego, which
Yeah.
you
Oh,
nailed.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, well, all right, that covers the 4 A's of this dynamic, beautiful, and spirited young lady. So now I'd like to switch a little bit, kind of
Okay.
give you a breather from
Okay.
all of that wonderful stuff. And you know, one of the things, before I close out of this, one of the things that I've learned is when you're going through a stuck period or a down period where you don't feel like things are going the way you want them to, then you got to pull out this stuff. You got to pull out the reminders.
Okay.
And I've learned that. So if ever that happens, just pull out the reminders of the things that you have done
Okay.
and the successes that you've had, because that will get you back up again.
Thank you for
And
that.
let you know that, wait a minute, if I did it once, I can do it again.
There it is.
So you need to remember that.
Thank you for that.
So now, name 3 people that have inspired you.
Anita Peters, that's my mother, has been an entrepreneur a lot of my life, maybe not her entire life. And I've watched her mount businesses and make money and lead pathways, clear pathways for many other people, without a lot of fanfare, but just drive and passion.
Yeah, that is so beautiful.
Yeah, that's my mama. I would say, let me see. Of course, that's the obvious one. Who's another somebody? I mean, there are so many, and I think my mom is really so ultimate that it's hard for me to put anybody else on that level. But there are a lot of other people. I'll also say Lauryn Hill. I think she's a trailblazer. I think she really modeled for me what it is to be in a space that is dominated by men.
Oh, but she was in that reggae world, wasn't she?
Well, she was in hip hop,
Hip-hop.
dance hall feel, but she
Okay.
did it with such class and such intelligence. in a way that people were saying it wasn't able, she wasn't able to. They were saying she shouldn't be able to do that. That nobody wants to hear hip hop from a girl, number one, and nobody wants to see a dark skinned girl on TV, number two, and nobody wants to hear in intellectual rhymes anymore. We're done with that. And she completely bucked that norm and created a lane for women like herself.
Okay.
And I think I follow in that legacy. At least I attempt to.
Well, right now, Lauryn Hill has, I was supposed to go back to Chicago to see my grandbaby. She did a thing with Bobby McFerrin for
Okay.
Leonard Bernstein.
Okay.
It's in their Ravinia.
Uh-huh.
And Lauryn Hill was the opening act.
Oh, wow.
She canceled.
Oh, Jesus.
And because she canceled, the show didn't go. We couldn't go.
Oh, God.
So when you said Lauryn Hill, I'm thinking,
I know. A lot of people have
and I hear that she does
Lauryn.
that. I hear she does that quite often. But I think personally that she's also very talented. I loved her in Sister Act. I think she's a phenomenal actress even. So I get it, but when she canceled that thing where I didn't get to see my grandbaby, it was like,
you're like, hold on now, Lauren. Now
you got some explaining to do.
Yeah, you got some explaining to do. This is my grandbaby.
Okay, so yeah.
I mean, I could speak long and at length about Lauren and her career and what it means to be a trailblazer, and what it means to be in a genre that has been purchased by people who don't have our best self-interest in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And for her to be bucking that trend and now her to be on the opposite side of things, I think there's some real intention behind that. And so we could talk about that another time.
Okay, so one more. So you got two: Lauryn Hill, Anita Peters.
Anita Peters. And then I am inspired by a lot of local, I would just say kind of an amalgam of local women. It takes a lot to stay in this region when you have great talent and you could be in other places. So there's Margot Hall, there's Jennifer Johns, there's Kava Menzies. There's like a bevy of women who are, there's Roz Nash. There's so many people. so many women that are here that really hold this ecosystem together, that make it the rich, ripe, fertile space for artists, culture, and authenticity to exist. So I would say kind of that amalgam of women. Yourself, Renee Moncada McElroy. There's so many. There are so many.
No, I understand that. Now, tell me this: what would the 9-year-old Ryan say to the adult woman RyanNicole today? What would she say to you?
Why'd you choose 9? I'm curious.
Because you know what? 9 is that odd age.
Yeah.
Where, you're not 10, because 10, you start feeling yourself.
Right.
Because you made it to the double digits.
It's true.
Okay. And so 8 is too young. 9 is you can think.
Yeah.
And you're observing, you're seeing things because you feel your body changing. So 9 is, I don't know, 9 meant a lot to me at that age. So I figured if it meant a lot to me, it must mean a lot to other people because it's before puberty.
Yep.
But it's still not, I'm not a little girl.
You're right.
I'm just right here in the middle.
Right. On my way. That's right. I love that. Diane Reeves has one of my favorite songs, 9, about that time period. What would 9-year-old Ryan say to this Ryan? She'd say thank you. She'd say thank you. 9-year-old Ryan was in the mirror secretly singing The Greatest Love of All and hoping to be on the Disney Channel.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so I think 9-year-old Ryan would say thank you for, listening to me.
Okay, and following that torch, following what's in your heart.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan. So before we leave, do you have any parting words for the audience? And also let them know how they can reach you.
For sure. just thank you for listening for so long. I know there's a lot. I know that I have a lot of hats that I wear, and I've not discarded any of them. And I think it's important to have some weirdos like me with, that we call polymaths out there to show that it's possible. You can do one thing very well. You can do a few things very well too, if you focus. It just takes longer. So thank you for enduring that and allowing me to exist how I desire to exist. And then you can find me on my website, MissRyanNicole.com, MissRyanNicole.com, on social media at Miss Ryan Nicole, same spelling, MissRyanNicole. And then you can always get the Googles on and type Ryan Nicole, and I'm going to come up somewhere.
Right, a lot of you come up. And then also your information, your URLs are going to be posted in the podcast.
Wonderful.
So people will have access to that.
Cool.
So I am just really, really thrilled that we were able to do this today.
Yeah, me
because
too.
I knew this was going to be special, and I knew it was going to be long.
Yeah. So sorry.
No,
God.
I'm not. It's just sometimes it has to be that way.
Yeah.
Because you have, like you said, you're multi-talented. You have a lot of different things that you're working on, and you're successful in all of them. And I do think it's important for people to know that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I'm also multi-talented, and people would say to me, "Oh, what are you, the master? What is it? Jack of all trade, master of none?" I'm like, "Excuse me,
right?
I master my stuff."
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
But you're right. You don't do it at the same time.
Right.
It's just, but they all feed into each other. They all feed into each other, right?
There we go. We're good. I think we're kind of like glitching.
Oh, okay. I don't know what just happened. But anyways, yeah, so it feeds into each other. So I appreciate your talent. So again, I'd like to thank you for being the guest. I wish you continued success with your family and career.
Thank you.
To my listening audience, thank you for listening to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. Please hit that like button, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and come back.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly.
See you soon.